Africa is a noisy place to be when it comes to news, sometimes good, sometimes bad. In the studio now, the MD, in Johannesburg that is, the MD of Thomson Reuters, that's Sneha Shah. Sneha, what's on the top of your list today? What was in your inbox this morning?
Well, lots of things going on in Africa, and I think I'm very bullish Africa. So most of the stuff is about growth. So most of what we're seeing is, investment opportunities coming in, people wanting to put more money into Africa, looking for where they should be putting it, and how we can help them do that. And so it's a great place to be right now. I think I've got the best job in the world.
Oh, very good. I'd like to see that optimism. Hopefully that will filter out and you can get your message across through Thomson Reuters. How important was the relatively smooth Nigerian election to what you've just described?
Extremely important. I think it was being viewed by international investors as a real sign of, is Africa really ready to make that transition from, transfers of power to relatively stable democracies that are able to transition power very seamlessly. And you could see in Nigeria, it was very unexpected. Most people didn't expect that the public would come out that resoundingly in favor of change, but that also that the incumbent would cede so gracefully. I think it's a fantastic sign for where Africa's going and how leadership transitions will take place on the continent.
It's been exactly 1 year since the tragic occurrence of a couple of hundred girls being abducted by a terror group, and it all started off nicely with Michelle Obama sending out tweets, and there was a global campaign, but it seems to have stalled. I did notice something this morning, I don't know whether it's true or not, that I think it was the Daily Maverick sent me an email saying that 50 of the girls had been spotted somewhere. From your point of view, has enough been done, and what is the next step?
Definitely not enough has been done. I saw a UNICEF report this morning that said there have been 800,000 children displaced as a result of the violence in northern Nigeria. And so whenever you think about the youth of this continent and their future, there's not enough being done. It's one thing to have social media campaigns and to try and drive action through that. But I think, government, private sector, everybody needs to do more. They call Africa the young continent for a reason. The future of this continent is in our children. And so we all need to be doing more and keep the spotlight on these types of travesties and try and make sure that we're sort of resolving them.
Yes, of course, Boko Haram is one thing, Al-Shabaab, its affiliate, is another thing, and the extraordinary scenes we saw barely a week ago now at Garissa, the university, which even someone who looks at the news hours and hours every day, even I was taken aback by the audacity and brutality of that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And being Kenyan, that one really struck home for me in a very deep way. I think, we need to get past these challenges. None of these challenges are Africa-only challenges. Terrorism is a global challenge that we all need to face. What I'm really optimistic about, though, is that countries aren't trying to do this by themselves anymore. You're seeing a lot more reaching out. You saw in Kenya, the reaching out to the West and to allies and looking for regional solutions to the issue. I think that's really the only way to defeat this and move beyond that. Overall, as I said, I'm really bullish about this continent. We're the youngest continent. We've got so much professionalization happening in all sectors of the economy. We've got investment into universities. We've got governments investing into innovation. All of those trends are incredibly positive. And so we just need to make sure that we have solutions to these sort of short-term but very destructive challenges that can sort of take place across the continent.
One country that has been challenging for quite a while is Zimbabwe. President Robert Mugabe made his first official visit to South Africa last week. In 21 years, you must have covered that. What was the sort of coverage that you gave it? What was your angle?
So I think Reuters has always been, on the news side of our business, we've always been very impartial, very objective. We've done a lot of things to cover this, and I guess I'll step back for a second. I used to be a wheat trader in South Africa back in the time before the transition and before all of this has happened. And Zimbabwe used to be a breadbasket, and I heard Morgan Tsvangirai speak at the WEF, where he said it's now gone from being a breadbasket to a basket case. And so we've covered all aspects of that transition. And one of the things that we've done through our foundation, we do a lot of training of journalists in an area where there needs to be more freedom of the press. And we've actually created an agency in Zimbabwe to help tell the economic stories in Zimbabwe, not just the political angle, but really what is there, because investors are extremely excited about some of the fundamental prospects for growth that Zimbabwe has. The potential is there, it just has been held back. And so we're trying to do a lot in telling all aspects of the story, not just the political story, but the economic story as well, and helping investors get ready for when the boom does happen.
Yes, the boom will happen, of course, because it's still got a very well-educated population. It's blessed with natural resources. It's really, well, we know exactly what's got to happen. Let's come right back to home now as we close this discussion now. Let's talk about South Africa, because South Africa also has a lot of potential, and a lot of that potential has been unlocked, but there's a lot more to be unlocked.
Absolutely. So, if you look at what South Africa has in terms of, the rest of the continent, the infrastructure here is incredible. I love the fact that the How train takes me to the airport within, 15 minutes, and then I can get a flight to any other country in Africa in less than 6 hours. It's just fantastic. I think the the ability for, South Africa to attract overseas, nationals and overseas companies who want to come and invest and use this as a base for the rest of Africa is still very high. To your point earlier in the immigration discussion, though, there are some challenges. The power challenge has to be sorted out. The immigration challenge has to be sorted out. And I think that is a question of leadership, and I think collectively it's not just a government leadership, it's private and public sector working together to solve these issues. It isn't in the hands of any one person or any one party. It really is a collective challenge that we need to address together, because we've got everything it takes to be successful, and it's very much in our hands to take that potential and make it a reality.
Sneha, thanks so much for coming in this lunchtime. That's Sneha Shah, who is the MD of Thomson Reuters.